Good morning, everyone. It is the Watching Humans podcast, Skyjack podcast. You have myself, Skylar Thomas, and Jack Gescheit of the Tree Spirit Project here. And today's main topic is going to be, well, it's going to be more of the same.
Oh, but piled higher and deeper, my friend. You and I haven't spoken. We kind of agree to come in and surprise each other with stuff, so we get immediate reactions, unscripted. So that gentleman is the wonderful. Gosh, he's like the grandpappy of organic dairying done right here in West Marin County, or Marin County, California. And of course, I think he's certainly a regional brand, if not a national brand, Straus Organic Creamery. How can you not like that? It's the best stuff, the good stuff, the local stuff. Organic, grass-fed, small batch, methane digesters. It doesn't get any better. And we're going to visit him down his Oh Poor Pity Me Poverty Tour. The poor guy is maybe going to lose 15% of his milk supply, which means he'll have to find it from somewhere else. That's all. But he's on a tour, screaming bloody murder, and he's just asking for it. I don't like attacking people, but in this case, I'm going to make an exception.
So you have an interview piece that we're going to watch, and
yeah, if I may, Scour, yeah. So he's doing, as I say, his Oh Poor Me Pity Tour. So he had an interview. It's like a 12-minute segment in two parts over 2 nights on ABC TV here. Local affiliate is KGO in the Bay Area. And that's the main thing we're going to go out today. And, we can't play more than a few seconds at a time because it's so, bursting with BS, and we have to pick it apart rather than just run the propaganda. But if I may, a little warm-up surprise. Oh, goody, because it's the same idea. And I don't know, let's call it the bullshit corner we'll do from time to time, where we pick a humane wash product that's happy and American and packaged and colorful and yummy. And I just want to show you this to get your reaction to it, because this is a new one for me. I mean, may I? Oh, God.
You're going to screen share?
Yeah, I'm going to screen share in my sloppy way, but it'll work. Yeah. Okay. Let me know if you can see that. Have you heard of these? There you go. Paleo Valley 100% grass-fed beef stick. You take a cow and turn it into a stick. And it's got 4 flavors: original, jalapeno, summer sausage, garlic summer sausage, for in that summery garlic mood. When you want to have your processed cow stuck into a plastic wrapper, I'm not sure whether they're using intestines for the encasing, but it's 100% grass-fed, and it comes from Paleo Valley, which is sort of like the valley of the Jolly Green Giant, but for the paleo folks who know to eat just the way ancestral man did, by slaughtering cows, grinding them up, and putting them in plastic wrap. And there's a whole campaign for this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, can you read that? That one, that has some grass in the picture, because, now it's grassy. And then, it goes on and on. So bear with me here. Just 2 more pictures. Yeah, so here we go. This is, farm to table. Now, isn't that more appealing? Because there's vegetables around it. And it looks like a yummy little thin sausage. I mean, it's the I'll call it the Slim Jim for the West Marin crowd who doesn't know any better. This is why this ties in. We could do a whole piece, 10 shows. We could do a whole podcast just on humane washing, packaging, marketing, as of George Carlin said, of bullshit. And I was tempted, but I wasn't going to subject you to it, Skylar, or anybody else. They have commercials for this product too. And, it's the fantasy world that is Albert Straus's fantasy world. with happy words and pretty pictures, and it just leaves out a tiny little bit of reality, which is the slaughterhouse. The main ingredient of this product. I'll give it this: the first ingredient is cow, or as they call it, beef, because you don't want to actually put the word cow in there. It's beef. The
Well, I
product.
noticed that they're flavoring it with vegan products.
Some of them are. Yeah, no. This is as good as this is the good stuff. I mean, that's why it's equivalent to Albert Straus. No artificial, supposedly chemicals, pesticides, things like that. Not GMO. So yay! So it's clean and happy to eat. Last one is, let's see. Oh no. There it is. I just this cracked me up too. So the whole industry cooperates with that. Could you throw that up there a little bigger? Thank you. My favorite. This is a reviewer. My favorite anti-anxiety clean protein snack. So I don't know about the anxiety of the animal going into making this product, but for humans, if you eat this, it will reduce your anxiety level, and it's clean. I'm not sure what that means, and it's got protein in it, which of course, so does broccoli, and it's a snack. Just four words strung together.
He's so green, Put the inefficiently raised animal inside of inefficient packaging. Let's as much trash as possible to deliver that food. Good job, Straus.
And no, this isn't Straus. We're going to get to him. But this is Paleo Valley. Again, I keep thinking of the song from childhood. Where I grew up in eating the canned corn in the valley of the Jolly Green Giant. Ho ho ho, Green Giant, Paleo Valley. And then I didn't do it, but I did go and find, on YouTube, easy enough to do. I was looking at slaughterhouse scenes, and there's one machine. I will just describe this super briefly, and we're not going to show it, folks. Don't worry. Don't want to chase away all the audience that we have, or any audience we might have. But it's a cow masticator. A cow masticator, a giant machine with two grinding wheels, and it's the video I saw was a dead carcass, a dead cow body, a carcass as they called it, and you get to watch what happens when you put a giant cow into this giant machine, and it macerates, it chops it up like a blender, and it's very, for me, really upsetting. I actually turned away, and then I said, "No, Jack, you need to know that this goes on. You need to report on this stuff to people, and I'm not going to show it to you or anybody else, but that's what Paleo Valley basically is." Taking cow, shredding it, and sticking it inside of plastic. And this is the world we live in. The world
of grass fed.
I'm sorry?
That's all that matters. But it was grass fed.
But it was grass fed, right. Exactly. We fed those Jews real well before we put them into the ovens. Oh, God. Okay.
So
Thank you for indulging me.
Before you get to your bit on Albert Straus.
Yeah.
Because the poor farm worker thing keeps getting brought up, and I'm guessing it was included.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm fascinated to hear, because you interviewed some of these folks too, and yeah, they're the hardworking ranch workers in there, and it'll fill the show once we start it. I mean, it's just really a conversation.
I'm going to throw this up, and
so to speak,
I will throw up if we keep talking about Straus for much longer. So I just wanted to put the image of a park ranger on the screen for a moment, and I will explain why. I was hanging out with a friend of mine who works for the Gulf of the Farallones National
Monument.
Or
NOAA?
Yeah.
NOAA, maybe?
Well, he works for the association, which is the nonprofit associated with it.
Okay.
And the reason that that's important is because we were discussing all the people who were fired. They're trying to figure out how to keep going to schools and talking to kids and having an educational program. People come, and of course these things have become difficult because while Trump spends billions on golfing trips, it's important to cut out other areas of government spending. But the reason this is important is he was telling me a story about park ranger that he knows, just sitting in his car crying after being let go. And he reminded me that it's not just the farm ranchers that have housing included into their salary. Thousands of people, thousands of other people lost their jobs because of what's being done to national parks and other government agencies. And some of these people are losing their homes, which in a place like California is going to leave you in a pretty tough spot.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of how tunnel visioned people are when they pretend to be concerned about workers losing their housing, such as in the Point Reyes situation. It's only the farm workers who are not legal, by the way. I don't know how these same Trumpty Dumpty people forgive that in their minds, as well as Trump's Mar-a-Lago employees that aren't being deported. But somehow, when it comes to pity pieces for ranchers, we need to be concerned about these farm workers. But fuck the park rangers who also lost their housing. I mean, no one's even brought this up. And indeed, I hadn't even thought about it. It's obvious in retrospect, but I had to have a conversation with a friend of mine to even think about, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you and I have often, been on opposite sides of the Park Service here locally at Point Reyes Seashore, because they were, basically doing the bidding of the ranchers. But, I think of Ken Brower, who has, been working with the Park Service for decades. And he's one of many people that remind me um, that, national parks is these words for it, best, highest ideal and our best idea, and setting aside wilderness areas for nature to not to be, or to be untrammeled, these kind of fancy, lofty words back when people used to be literate. And then rangers are there to basically steward them. We just say, help people get in to see them, rescue people. I mean, there's a lot of good work that is done by the Park Service. As I often badmouth them because, of our political fights we get into. But a lot of people are, as you say, I mean, they're gutting the government and these agencies and anything remotely environmental. And a lot of people are going to be, have to move. They can't live in an area if they don't have the housing that comes with the relatively low paying job for which they're providing a service, to the public. Yeah.
Corinne, I had a dream last night that Point Reyes National Seashore was called a National Agriculture Preserve, which is what it is. It's an appropriate name.
Yeah, and good morning. Chris is here as well. And Paula, good morning. Yeah, a couple things to say.
How many times are we going to get refed this exact same story of the pity pieces? I mean, they're not even being creative, original. Like, it's like they took the story from last month and they're just circulating it through the news again. It's like it's like the shark world. I keep bringing everything back to the shark world, my origins, because that's what they do with a shark bite. Shark bites are so rare, but they get clicks that they have to recirculate a story about something that already happened. But it gets that emotional response from people. Oh God, this is terrible. Oh, these poor dairy people. Oh, these poor shark attack victims.
FID, FID, fear, ignorance, disinformation. Give them a bogus story. Oh, and repetition. I don't know how to make an acronym out of that. FIRD, FIRD, fear, ignorance, repetition of disinformation. Yeah, I mean, that's what works. And, we're seeing that in politics in the grand scale, too. You can say, you just make something up. The number one cause of crime in the world is immigrants, or crime in America, immigrants. And it's completely not true. The stats don't support that at all. It's a lie. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And then if you have somebody, like a guy who's designed and built and trained to run government with detail and nuance and subtlety, like a Chuck Schumer, like, well, this is inappropriate. We shouldn't be harming the government, and we're going to write a very strong letter. And that's very sweet, guy, and you're right, but that's not going to do it. It needs to be. I mean, that's why I'm kind of more and more, especially today, in my New York skin, which is angry, pissed off, and I'm going to say some brutal stuff. And you smile like, finally, Jack, wake up. But I mean, the Albert Straus stuff is an example. I mean, he's just lying through his friggin' teeth to make even more money. A wealthy man, successful businessman, by abusing cows, and of course, public has its part in that too by buying these products and believing this stuff. Educated people.
I would just like some consistency. Like, we don't have to get into whether or not people agree with us that dairy in general is a bad industry or about the suffering of the animals. We don't have to agree with whether or not undocumented citizens are creating problems in the country. The bottom line is that these guys want to play both sides of it. Like, oh, these immigrants are a problem, but not when they're our employees. In fact, when they're our employees, you need to give them millions of dollars.
Oh, man, again, when we get into we're going to get into this peak sauce, I promise. I mean, it's just there's so much to work with there, but it's really even more bizarre than that, Sky, where it's threading this needle. I'm just expanding on what you just said, which is, we're generally anti-immigrant if we're Trumpers and Republicans because, they're taking down the country. But then we hire them to do the hard work on our farms, specifically now Point Reyes Seashore dairies and beef ranches. And then when we leave, we take our millions of dollars from the government, from, in this case, the Nature Conservancy, our payment to leave. We can continue our business elsewhere or retire because we have enough money. And the poor worker whom we paid a slave wage, a minimum wage, stuck him in shitty housing, provided no benefits, no vacation package, no severance package, no union rights. And then, and then they blame us, the environmentalists who are worried about, native grasses and some animals.
Mm-hmm.
We did that to their workers that they didn't take care of. And then, who is taking care of them? The Nature Conservancy, who's buying out the ranchers, is also setting aside millions to give the ranch workers something. And the rancher does nothing for his ranch workers Andrew Giacomini, the lawyer, is in this piece we're going to show. And he's at it again. Someone needs to represent the workers, and even Jared Huffman is in this thing. I'm giving a taste of what's coming. And God bless him. He's actually saying the right things. I mean, it's kind of the timid politician's tepid version of it. But at least he is saying, where were they before caring about the ranch workers?
I wanted to say something that ties into, how badly these ranchers are treated. And when these undocumented people are selected to work at the ranches, it's not because of their qualifications. It's because of their status. It's because of their citizenship, because they can be abused. This is how ranchers choose their employees. Does that sound like good people to you? Let's see who we can treat the worst.
Because who has no recourse.
No recourse, exactly.
And no rights. And if they dare complain, they know we'll fire them and they're really screwed. Good morning, Ray Cooper of World Peace Chocolate.
Good morning, Ray. Why don't you go ahead and start playing it? Or I can play it from my end, but we can try it from your end if you'd like.
Well, if you have it, you might as well. It's going to stream smoother because then it's not uploading to you, right? If you want to, either way. But since you have the video too, and it's got a stamp on the middle of it because that's the downloader I use that I don't want to pay for, but it'll work. Should work fine. Oh, and just a little quick thing. I'll mention it later too. But note, folks, if you haven't heard, August 26th, our Tuesday show on August 26th, just a little less than a month from now, we have a special guest, Gary Yourofsky, who is, I've got to find the stats on this somehow, which means doing a little research, but probably one of the vegan activists from 30, 40 years ago. I should get that number too.
Just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, you'll find...
Who has converted more people to veganism with his powerful advocacy, just talking. I mean, I fancy myself a public speaker, and this guy is just world class and did some amazing speeches, which were recorded and shared and just literally hundreds of thousands of people, and lots of Israel, of all places, were converted to veganism because this guy. So he's going to be on our show for at least an hour and a half long conversation, a special edition of the Skyjack podcast on Tuesday, August 26th. So make a note of that, folks. Love to have you along there, and excited to have him on.
August 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got this queued up, and it's painfully obvious, but I'm going to say it one more time. This idea that this is some sort of a secret deal from only the environmentalist side. Like, how exactly are they glazing over the fact that it was the ranchers that were participating in the secret deal?
We can't even play the first second of it because there's bullshit on the screen from the start. The chyron they put on it from ABC is secret deal, ends Point Reyes dairy farming. Nothing to do with dairy farmers finally caught being massive polluters of a national park. No. It's secret deal. And of course, that means it's a privately negotiated deal, the way all lawsuits are negotiated. And they do get into that in the piece. There's one challenge the reporter makes that I can remember, which comes up in this if we get that far. But folks, sorry we don't just run it. I've had discussions with some of the audience here separately. Well, just run the piece. It's like, no, you can't, because it's spreading lies and propaganda. You got to parse it and rip it to shreds and point out the truth, and which is to say, point out the lies.
Okay. And remember, everyone, just ignore that Movavi thing.
It's an ad from Movavi who helped me download this thing, but I didn't want to pay to get the watermark removed. I don't care.
Okay, here we go.
Find some of the most picturesque views that California has to offer along the Point Reyes National Seashore in western Marin County.
This is paradise.
Carlos Barata, a 30-year veteran California park ranger, has picked up photography in his retirement.
When I go out to do photography in Point Reyes National Seashore, I call it going to church.
Why is that?
Because that's where I feel like my heart and my spirit feel comfortable, full.
Past the breathtaking landscapes that draw in millions of visitors each year, you'll find cattle dotted along the coastline. Yes, this area is a national seashore protected by the National Park Service, but since it gained that federal designation in 1962, there's been a unique agreement to allow ranching here, a way of life that predates the park's formation. Now, that's coming to an end for the most part, thanks to a secret deal that's anchoring some ranchers who've been there for generations.
Could you freeze it, please? Thank you, Skyward. Do you want to say something, or may I?
Go ahead.
Even these pictures, like there's a picture of a farm. And, I didn't know when I moved here 29 years ago and would drive into Point Reyes, like, oh, it's all green and lovely. And again, I'm hoping some people see this that don't know us and don't know the issues. And just that blight on the land there, where the whole hillside is decimated. There's no coastal scrub there. It's green grass at this time of year they filmed it. But there's no wildlife there, folks, or very, very little wildlife compared to places where the ranches are. So in the 18,000 acres inside Point Reyes Seashore, where there are ranches, exactly, decrepit buildings, the sign for Straus Dairy right there, just kind of in the center left, and a barren hillside of just European grasses that were brought in, by ranchers from Europe for ranching. And then, of course, I just got to tuck on the multi-generational nonsense again. This has to be called out every time. So we take the land as Europeans from the natives, ranch it or do whatever we do with it for a few generations, and then claim it's ours and it's always historic. And of course, our history begins with their stealing the land, not 1,000 generations of Native Americans here whose land has been stolen and decimated. Thank you.
This is a new piece. This is a new piece, right?
This was released last week. Today's Tuesday. It was last week, 2 parts. So more of the same BS, which is being pushed by the ranchers and the media, who's uncritical. It's the status quo. And a few people have written me saying, Jack, we got to push back on this stuff. And that's one reason we're doing this show, is to share this video and enlighten people.
I'm clarifying the timing.
Yeah.
Because it helps you understand the extent that they went through with their deception here. Because this was obviously filmed in like February, not right now.
Right.
Because that is not what it looks like out there.
file footage, as they call it. Yeah, very good point. Thank you, Skylar. Exactly. This is not what's out there now. It's all burnt out. All that grass turns brown and becomes, as you say, fire fuel, creating the very fire hazard that they say grazing will keep reduced.
Yeah, I know this is repetitive, but people need to understand that the green, and indeed this is more attractive having the green there than how it actually looks right now, which is a combination of dead, dry fire fuel and thistles. But I want people to understand that the green that you're seeing right now that kind of looks positive is actually still the problem that comes later.
Exactly. And I make no apologies. I mean, we have our different styles, but I make no apologies for repeating myself. It's what in fact, I advocate other activists and citizens do. Repeat, 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 because that's how the ranchers, are pushing their BS narrative of regenerative stewards of the land ranching by repeating that lie. We got to repeat the truth and keep repeating it. And, for me, when I'm talking with you here, I'm aware I want this to be a recording that we can share on YouTube to new people who don't still know the issues, not to our friends who are wonderful allies in this fight, but who know all this stuff. Yeah, we need to repeat it. We all need to be repeating this stuff endlessly to push back on it. Continue.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say how they made it sound like it's rare, like it's a rare experience to go and oh look where you can see cows. I mean, were your eyes closed the entire drive there? This is sadly much of California, and 50% of Marin County. 50 fucking percent, people.
Excellent point, Skylar. Excellent point. Right. And Straus will go on to say, it's the end of dairying and whatever. It's like, no, we're removing it from a national park, one of the few places where there shouldn't be. And you wrote me a really insightful email recently, or was a text, Skylar, where you said, name a major freeway in California from which you don't see, you use the word agriculture, which, for me, I, of course, make the separation between plants and cows specifically. But when you drive in freeways in California, the five or any of them, it's mostly cow pasture, decimated land, no wildlife, relatively little wildlife, cows. We're mad for cows. You've raised that awareness to me. That's right. When you drive the freeways, that's all you see. And it can be very upsetting once you look at it and know that's destroyed land to abuse cows for profit.
I get general and use the word agriculture because then I can literally say all of it, because what you have is a variation occasionally from cattle to fields of what's going to become cattle feed. So it's still cattle in another way. And then you have some orchards, but it's all not habitat. It's all human beings using it for themselves. But cattle are probably, almost certainly the worst version of it.
Right. Well, and the worst version of it for so many reasons. Pollution, torture of animals. Leah will be proud if she's listening. I'm no longer saying, putting ethics aside. Like, no, I'm not going to put ethics aside anymore. To hell with that. Horrifically cruel. And then also incredibly inefficient. If we grow plant crops, we can feed 10 times the number of people in the same amount of land as you can with a cow, rather than putting all the plant crops, pushing it through a bovine, and then eating the bovine, the poor cow. Incredibly, as you said, I'll quote you, the most, inefficient way to raise food for humans. It's just nuts. And this is standard. So we got to keep repeating this stuff to beat back the dominant narrative, which is we need meat. We need to eat grass-fed beef sticks for protein.
Nonsense. Well, this disgusting narrator by saying, yes, it is a seashore, but because ranchers were here at this point in time in history, that means that this is special enough to keep around, while leaving out that it's not special. It's not rare. I think that's what I think they're trying to give you the impression that this is rare and special. It's not. Yeah. It's just the next iteration of the same fucking thing you see everywhere you drive. And we won't even give nature a chance in a national park.
Right. Not even.
Now, how much is Straus spending keeping this in the news?
Great question. I mean, he didn't bring the lawsuit, right? Nyman of Nyman Ranch did, and then there's there's a couple different suits. Giacomini, the rancher lawyer. Anyway, let's show a little bit more. I want to feed people some more info that we can rip into.
Farming community and food community.
Here we go.
And now we're at risk of losing everything because of this deal that behind closed doors that was happening in Point Reyes National Seashore.
Your buddies were behind those closed doors.
Right. It's
Albert
like everybody
Straus runs these.
Everybody in the deal agrees, let's do this in private so we can make some headway. So it's both sides agreed to have them be private discussions, not secret deal. And then, of course, this is going to be the end of ranching. What he's talking about specifically, for people who don't know, and I learned this from people who are probably watching the show right now, Straus, the report is he pulls 15% of his milk supply from 2 dairies inside Point Reyes Seashore. I think it's Nunez and Mendoza, but whatever the ranches are, about 15% of his milk supply. So that will end, and he'll have to source 15% of his milk from elsewhere. That's what he's saying is the end of the business. No, it's not, you lying sack of cow. Excuse me.
He was further. He went further. He said the end of everything. Oh no, he said we're going to lose everything.
We're going to lose everything. Like, what the hell does that even mean? We're going to cut into our profits a tiny bit.
Yeah,
God.
I can only imagine. I mean, how much did we learn that the ranchers are actually costing the taxpayer just to exist out there?
Oh, right. Meaning they're paying so little rent, and the Park Service is paying such high maintenance fees. I forget the number. It was over $1 million collectively per year. And I should have that tip of my tongue, and I don't. Maybe someone else knows who's watching this thing. If Jim Coda's watching, he would know.
You see, 15% of your dairy coming from Point Reyes, that's a very small percentage. But as a businessman, it matters. Thing is, 50% of Marin County has other dairy to source you. The difference is that the ranchers in Point Reyes are operating for free.
They're subsidized by the public. Welfare ranchers, as much as I don't like putting down welfare, this is corporate welfare, company welfare for wealthy business landowners outside of the park.
When Albert says they're going to lose everything, does he have to give up his millions of dollars and his other businesses?
I don't think so, Skylar.
Yeah.
When he means everything, he doesn't mean everything.
He just wants you to think everything.
Right. He means I'm going to lose some money. That's what it means. Please don't take my milk money away, mommy.
Albert Straus is a piece of trash.
Well, I think that's one way to put it.
Straus Dairy Farm in Marin County. He's
Look at the ground. That's what cattle actually do to habitat.
That's what exactly.
Purchases milk from at least one of the dairy farms in Point Reyes.
I'm sorry. At least one.
You realize we can't play 1 second of it without ripping into the.
Is that the best? Is that the best they could come up with their pity story that he sources from at least one in Point Reyes?
Is slated to close.
We've created our organic farming and food system that is a model for the world.
Today, you'll see their products on.
What kind of a model, though? It's a model for the world. What does that even mean? It's a model for the world.
It's not a model for anyone who is lactose intolerant, or anyone who doesn't want to become obese, or anyone who can't afford niche dairy products.
We have created the slaughterhouse that is the model for the world.
I mean, it would be the model if everyone else's businesses could be so fortunate as to not pay any rent, have taxpayers fund your operating expenses, and everything else is provided by Mother Nature.
And don't pay any taxes on the land.
Oh, that's right.
And have the Park Service, which is paid for by the public, do your maintenance of your roads too. You don't have to pay into the taxes for the roads like the rest of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are paying for ranch hands because the Point Reyes National Park Service are just ranch hands, sadly. I mean, they do a little bit of other stuff, but they're primarily ranch hands, which is why so little has been accomplished out there.
wait, there's more.
On store shelves under the popular Straus Family Creamery label. Soon, the company's output could be reduced because of the farm closures.
Are you hearing how vague everything is?
It
could be reduced?
It could be. I mean, this is advertising. These are weasel words. Could be, not will be, not is. Could be, and reduced. Well, reduced could be reduced by 0.01% or 15%. They don't say, like you say, vague. Good morning, Leah, who comments, not a model for anyone who doesn't want, that's sweet, who doesn't want animals to be raped and slaughtered. Why would, you're making that sound like a bad thing, Leah, to rape and slaughter an animal just so I can have morning cream in my coffee. Cream top, organic Straus Family Dairy milk.
Lots of stuff going into the landfill with the Straus label on it.
We're angry as a community. We feel disrespected as farms, community, and people.
Now, let's be clear. He's mad at the ranchers who participated in this secret deal behind closed doors. They're the ones who disrespected ranchers.
You know, I'm going to come at this sideways. I feel disrespected. Is disrespected a feeling? Feeling anger is a feeling. Happy, sad, feelings disrespected. I'm making the assessment that for the first time, I can't destroy the land like in that green picture to the left. They're taking that away, and I'm upset about that. Translation: I feel disrespected.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, and again, folks, anybody new watching this thing somewhere someday, we're recording on July 29th, 2025. That is a desecrated landscape there. Even my crow outside my window here is agreeing with me. That should be coastal scrub and with wildlife hiding in bushes and such, and it's all gone. But for that one, wow, Mr. Crow he's got a lot to add to this conversation.
With the exception of the tree, nothing there is perennial, which means that they're all annuals, which means they're all going to turn into fire fuel, and are right now. This, once again, they are showing you footage from the greenest time of year in which these non-native annual grasses from Europe are green and gives you the illusion that something nice is happening. But these are all problem plants brought here because of agriculture, and they're all going to turn into fire fuel. They are right now. This green thing keeps making me think we're in a different time.
They're showing footage in July, which was shot in February and March. So again, misrepresentation right off the bat. The bias is baked into the show.
Being evicted from their homes and their livelihoods.
Environmentalists are welcoming the dramatic reduction in ranching on the way to Point Reyes.
I've seen the dairies, Straus dairies. They're certainly a lot better, but they're not good enough to create the pristine environment that's needed for perennials to come back.
Joe Mueller is a biology instructor at College of Marin. He says thousands of cows scattered throughout the seashore has led to overgrazing. And that's causing the removal of native plants and the...
I was trying to see. I don't think there's a native plant in that image.
Correct.
You got wall barley in the front there. I see some thistles on the left. I don't know what the tall stuff is. The super tall stuff. That could be poison hemlock.
The overpopulation of destructive weeds.
What it does is it takes over in such a way that it doesn't provide for the soil like the perennials do. The perennials are able to kind of protect the soil.
After
you didn't tell me that somebody came on here and actually spoke a little bit of truth.
Well, this is 12-minute long, and we're going to get through about 3 minutes of it today. So, no, I didn't want you to know all of it. I wanted you to have a fresh take on it as you see it. Yeah, no, and Mueller, by the way, is actually the biology professor, I think, at College of Marin of Jocelyn, whose pictures are in here later. So he's a good guy, and I mean, you never know what he said and what they show. Of course, I want his speech to be more fiery and forceful. That's not who this guy is. He's a gentle man, obviously, never met him. A biologist, knows his stuff. And, he talks about the plants, which is great, but, he's not the, or I should say, even if he said it, they're at least touching on the fact that the cows are a major source of land pollution and manure production and affecting the plant life in the park. At least he's covering that at least.
Andy is saying, should we call Straus today and call bullshit? Well, always. Never ask. Never ask. Just do. Everyone call.
Yeah, well, we could do that's a whole other choice. We've always decided, or been discussing what we should do with Albert Straus and whether we want to approach him directly and, what would we say and what do we expect to get from that? It's a whole activist strategy discussion in my world anyway. Morning, Andy.
Years of back and forth between environmental groups and ranchers who have leases with the National Park Service. In January, 6 dairy farms and 6 beef farms.
No, I was going to say, just that's another great shot there of that beautiful green golf course, monoculture golf course, as you've taught me to call it. Just nothing there.
It's, you can. You mentioned how I encouraged you and others to pay attention when you're driving down the freeway. It's not just that it's agricultural. At some point in time, have you seen wildlife? I mean, you can drive through the length of California and not see a fucking deer on a hill. This is Point Reyes National Seashore. Has anyone seen one shot of wildlife?
Yeah.
Entered into a voluntary settlement agreement to end farming and close their ranches. 2 remaining beef operations in the National Seashore will receive long-term leases from the NPS. The deal was brokered by the environmental nonprofit, the Nature Conservancy.
See, this is where I feel like the Nature Conservancy effed us, because while this was taking place, the long-term leases that we fought very hard against got pushed through.
So I did speak with some of the groups, the plaintiffs, not Nature Conservancy, who kind of entered later to come with the money. But again, this is, I understand your fire, and I can't say you're wrong at all. Like, it's BS. How did the 2 beef ranchers that are staying, 12 left out of 14, six dairies, 6 beef ranches, 2 beef ranches remain, and they're getting 20-year leases, I believe. Long-term, I'm pretty sure it's 20-year, which is insane and absurd. And of course, for me as an activist, like, we'll just go with them and show they're still polluting and get them kicked out in other ways once the Trump administration is out, because they'll, of course, they're pro-business and anti-environment. I mean, to put it mildly. But that is nonsense. But at the same time, talking with the plaintiffs, the deal had stalled. They just weren't getting anywhere. It was taking forever. And there was also a looming pressure that once the Trump administration comes in, the whole thing would be shut down. There would be, as there is, huge forces to just, we're going to F you up and shut down all environmental efforts. So let's get something done. So that was the compromise. And I am a realist enough to know, even as an activist, I'm not going to talk about compromise. When the politicians get in there and the deals are made and the lawsuits are settled, there will inevitably be compromise. So that was one of them. They get these long-term leases, but at least we do get thousands of cows out. And that sucks that it's not what it should be. It's not all right, but it is at least a big step in the right direction.
I understand everything you said. I just don't want people to get the impression that this was the only way. The Park Service could have evicted these bad tenants at any time, because these are not long-term leases. And the original lease that they were paid a shitload of money, they got the original lease as part of a transition process, along with the money that was supposed to help them transition out of there.
Yep.
Then those ended, and then they basically became squatters. And then the Park Service, who now became family with the ranchers, started giving them repeated temporary leases.
Lease extensions, 5 and 10 years.
Yeah. In no way, shape, or form was this owed to these people. And the people who just got the 20-year extensions also were not owed leases. The Nature Conservancy wasn't the only way out, but there was fear from some people that, we just got to get something done, because that's how damaging the ranchers are. They're so damaging that people are just like, we just got to get some of them out of here.
And they have political power, And they also still, as we're seeing from showing this puff piece here on ABC TV friggin' news, which has a big audience in the Bay Area, they still dominate the narrative. They're still pushing back, even though, God bless us activists, a whole group of us. I mean, I came to this game late, only a few years ago, having seen your film, The Shame of Point Reyes, but an awful lot of people, activists, had to work to educate the public enough to at least acknowledge, oh yeah, there is pollution. Oh yeah, cows maybe shouldn't be in a national park. Oh yeah, the elk are fenced and dying. That was kind of the big tipping point, I think. It was a big animal megafauna, as they say, that people could identify with and say, that's wrong. I think that elk are dying in a park. Why is that happening? Cattle. Cow business, wherever it is, dairy and beef farms.
And as that biologist just said, hey, Straus might be better than some of them, but it's still bad.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, and I hate to pick on him, and then I will. Like, he was saying, maybe they're better. Like, no, Straus isn't better. Organic, small batch, artisan, up your ass, methane digester Straus is not better. He uses more land, more water in water scarce Marin. And of course, loads more. Oh, and of course, when you graze animals longer and they're longer to come to market as free range, grass fed, more methane production, longer to market, more inputs, more food, more water. It's a least efficient way to raise cattle. Yeah, there's no pesticides, and that's great. But the trade-off is all the other demerits.
I guess it depends on which angle of the argument you want to take, because with human beings, there's always something worse. And so you're getting a pat on the back because your version isn't as horrifying as another version. But let's be clear about these wonderful organic dairies. Water waivers are created to let them get away with what they're doing, because otherwise they would not pass the Clean Water Act regulations.
Exactly. And I'm going to come around about this again. No, they're not better. Organic dairies aren't better. They're still major water polluters. They're still major degraders and compactors of soil. They still drive off and shoot and scare and kill wildlife. They're horrible operations, destructive of the environment, bad for health. And oh, by the way, Leah, I hear you in my head. You're in there. They're horrifically cruel to animals. If we showed you what they did to a cow, you would throw up. And if I tried to show it to you, you'd run away and say, I don't want to see that, Jack. You're upsetting me. So there's nothing good about an organic dairy of cows. It's all horrific, destructive, filthy abuse. Enjoy. Abundanza.
Cow indicates female. That's why I'm actually making a bigger effort to say cattle, not cow, because I don't mean just the females, especially when it comes to beef. How about livestock?
Yeah, no. I funny. I get pushed from the animal rights folks who've taught me if you say cattle and livestock, it's not. If you say cow, it more. I was going to say humanizes it. I don't know what the word would be, but it's more personal. It's like, oh, the nice cow in the field that I can relate to. It's more relatable, person to
right.
person.
But if you talk to a biologist and they say cow, they could be referring to an elk.
Yeah, or for that matter, a female elk. Right, exactly, a female elk. Yeah. I got
agreement, which has not been made public, settles a 2022 lawsuit that raised serious environmental concerns about the farming practices on the protected land and challenged 20-year leases given to the farmers by the National Park Service.
I just wonder how many people can wrap their heads around the fact that you're looking at barbed wire and non-native species, not one shot of wildlife yet. And this is the pity piece.
Yeah.
Ranchers who operate the farms will receive an undisclosed sum of money, estimated by our sources to be somewhere between a couple and several $1 million.
Freeze.
What?
So, well, no. What do you mean? What are you reacting to?
Well, it's a lot more than a couple.
No. Per rancher. I mean, the whole amount is whatever reported 30 to 40 million, and then that's separate among 12 beef and dairy ranchers that are leaving. So that's
only a couple of families. Like they're operating, a couple of families, like have the majority of control of those different leases.
Separate thing. I just want to point out first the destruction of the land there, how gross that situation is. And then notice he said, he didn't use the word secret. He said private amounts. So now when it's giving money to the ranchers, that's not a secret. That's private. Ranchers could tell us what they were paid. Why is that not secret? A secret amount the ranchers won't tell the public how many millions of dollars they're getting. That's private. The words, always the words, euphemisms. Language is so important.
The money we secretly negotiated for ourselves.
No. They had a secret deal they're keeping from you, but how much money they're paying us.
I'm sorry, I was being a rancher when I said we.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're being sarcastic. Okay.
Yeah.
There's layers of sarcasm between us. It's hard to figure it out sometimes.
Walk away from this multi-generational family business. Caught in the balance are the farm workers that have performed the back.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Wait. You look at that guy. It reminds me of Sasquatch. There's the backbreaking work of watch him saunter off there in the frame.
Breaking labor of herding, feeding, and milking thousands of cows.
That's the hardworking rancher. You talk about blobs of flesh walking around out there. You think he's doing the work, or do you think he's?
I thought that was a dairy. I thought that was a dairy cow in overall.
It's a dairy cow in blue. No. He's the owner of the thing. I mean, he's not making a ton of money. God knows he's living, in his little hovel out there as well, because he's not spending money to improve it. But the ranch worker is the one that the Mexican immigrant of probably undocumented laborers, God bless them, are doing the work for that guy. And then but as they show, the hard work is done. Find out later, Carlos Parada, who's a good guy, speaks on the behalf of who's actually doing the work in the farms. It wasn't that Sasquatch walking off there in the blue. God knows. You can see it isn't. He's not capable of doing hard labor anymore.
For generations.
Oh, there he is on his four-wheeler, the only thing that'll carry him.
They will soon be out of a job, and their families will be out of a place to live.
What a shame that we won't have a shanty town in Point Reyes National Seashore.
Well, careful here, buddy. This is where it gets tricky. This is going to be interviewing a ranch family who, you and I and all our environmentalist activist friends have great compassion for. The ranch workers are the victims always. Unpaid, abused by the owners who then hold them up as like, hey, look what's happening to these poor people that we screw daily with low pay and no benefits. Just saying.
These places look like used car lots when you go by there. Like all these old broken down cars just parked on top of land.
Public land. In a national park, public land. That's public land in a national park for a private business operation that is subsidized heavily by the public and pollutes the park. Just saying. Again.
Oh, God.
Rosa Rodriguez has lived in this home on historic Ranch A in Point Reyes with her husband, Miguel, and their three boys aged 11, 18, and...
Oh, my God. I need the pictures of their housing to throw up there too. And A Ranch is one of the most horrifying out there. So good job for you guys being part of the nightmare. I have zero pity for these people. What they chose to do with their lives as the most intelligent species, the superior species.
Whoa. You guys are for the ranch worker or for the owner of the farm?
Well, it's both. I'm not letting anyone off the hook, because whether you're the ranch hand, whether you're the exploited person or not, you're still supposedly part of the superior species. And this is what you have chosen to do with your existence, is to participate in the torture of other living creatures, which helps another person get rich.
I don't disagree with the overview you're providing, but I also do have a different, more personal take, which is, I mean, especially these people are sweet people. And there's one kid on camera who is, very carefully chosen to elicit a great deal of sympathy or compassion and empathy, as you will. But these are immigrant laborers who come to the parents. These are the kids of, born in America. And I consider them American, whether they have papers or not, because they were born here. And I want this to be a nation of immigrants, of course. But they are looking for work. They're undocumented. They can meet a ranch hand, and they don't know about cattle ranching any more than my wealthy, well-to-do, Terra Linda neighbor out here in San Rafael does. So they get a job on a farm, and they're paid whatever, $20 an hour, $22 an hour, and they have a place to live. It's a good deal for them, and I don't begrudge them that. They're the victim. We the three of us, or the three people on the screen, you, me, and those folks. We have the privilege of being white and educated enough to do other things, but we're all at the bottom end of the feeding trough in this culture. So I don't pick on my fellow bottom feeders. It's the people at the top who are really exploiting the rules and exploiting all people. and of course, as you said, torturing animals. So I just don't pick on these people at all. I see them as fellow victims in a way. Not that I'm a victim in their way.
But they're being used as pawns here.
But that's not their fault. Of course they are. But that's not their doing.
Really?
What's their recourse? Is to quit and walk off the job and have nowhere to live. It's tough, right? I mean, Skylar, you've interviewed some families. You have empathy for these folks. I'm just trying to not let you.
I'll be honest. I don't.
Okay. You don't today. You have before.
Like I visited them, and they weren't doing anything. I tried to hook them up with Miyoko. Tried to hook them up with better jobs, and they just wanted to stay the course doing. Wait, what do you do after you don't work on a ranch? You go do leaf blowing. One of the other things that I fucking hate. And it's another exploited job that exploits laborers. And thing is, it's not just with dairy. It's not just with ranching. Human beings always have this escape route. Oh, we have to pity human beings because they're, experiencing hardship, whether it's in this case or that case or another case. There's always a way out for us, it seems like.
I'm just going to read some of the comments to kind of flesh this out a little bit. Leah says, this video is enraging. I'm hurting. Excuse me. Sorry, hurling. Yeah, of course. Race leaver, don't know who you are. Thank you for coming to the show. Agreed. You're still responsible for your own actions if you wish to consider yourself an adult. To your point, Skylar. So another point of view. Fair enough. Leah says, Gary Roski would disagree with you, Jack. Well, yeah, he would agree with, hey, you're responsible for your actions and to hell with you, you piece of, you're all humanity doing this terrible stuff. I look forward to the conversation with Gary. I mean, I want to have these kind of conversations on this show. I'd consider it great. And then Race Leader says, you can have some empathy for them, but it doesn't change the reality that they are still responsible for their own actions. Oh, fair enough. That's both. That's kind of a moderated view. I'll accept that. And I also accept different views, but I like having discussions about it.
The entire household was morbidly obese, and I just can't. And it's not the obesity thing. It's just like how bad can life be when you are spending enough money and putting enough calories in your body that you're 10 times the size that I am. And it reminds me of Food Inc., where they go and they interview the family, and there's a pity story again. It's like, oh, well, I don't have time to make breakfast, so I have to go through the fast food thing in the morning. Are you fucking kidding me? You know what? Even when I ate fast food, because I was actually poor, I didn't buy it because it is not a good deal and it's not cheap. And I'm not saying this because these are Hispanic people. It's because it's actually what I chose to eat was tortillas and beans. Because it was fast, it was easy, it was bachelor food, and it was packed full of nutrition for a cheap price. That does not take very long to make. And it takes a lot less time than going through the fucking drive-through. And then they go on to talk about, it's between that. It's between spending the money on vegetables or I have to get my diabetes medication. Like, you have to get your diabetes medication because of the other thing that you're doing. So no, I don't fucking feel bad for these people. I'm fucking sick of all of them.
Well, I don't disagree with what you said. We're taking a detour into the whole world of diet and education and misinformation, and it extends far beyond these ranchers or ranches in this conversation even, but the amount of disinformation about what's healthy food. Lee and I have talked about this. I keep mentioning her name because she's on the show here watching, but also 2 days ago, I spent the time to take brown rice, in a frozen brown rice, by the way. I wasn't going to cook rice. It takes too long. Brown rice and a bag of potatoes and a whole bunch of vegetables, and I threw it into a cast iron pot, and I made basically 4 dinners. I had one that night, and then I've got 3 more meals for the week, just for my evening meal. And I might mix it up and have other things in between. But to your point, if you're educated, if you have the effort, if you can break your habits, if you can see through your own conditioning, yes, eating vegan and eating plant-based is not torturing animals, more specifically. Plant-based sounds too vague and non-specific. You can eat really, really well, incredibly healthily, for less money, for less effort. But I didn't do that for a long time because I wasn't in the habit. I was raised eating the luncheon meats and meat, meat and dairy and eggs 3 times a day. That's what I did for my meals. And I was, friggin' educated, growing up outside of New York with educated parents. Well, purportedly educated parents. And purportedly I'm educated, although I'm a college dropout.
But I think that's my point. I hadn't educated myself properly back then either. My finances forced me into that lifestyle. And that's why I'm not buying this hardship shit. You people shouldn't be able to afford to be that fucking fat. Not,
Well, also, and to your point, when you make a lot of money in this culture in American society, which we're exporting to the world, God help them, and I got a lot of money, I'm successful. What do? You go to a steakhouse, and you have a giant slab of dead cow on your plate, and maybe some caviar, fish eggs, always, taking stuff from the ocean and animals, and I don't know, I guess alcohol too, some sort of expensive alcohol. Like and that's people with money who can buy anything they want in our culture. And that's the crap they put in their bodies with a really rich dessert, which is typically, cow dairy again.
Race lever or race lever is trying to bait you here.
Why brown rice and not white rice? You some kind of racist? Very good. Yes, I guess I am a racist. Yeah, I don't eat white rice. I consider it a non-nutritive food. Brown rice is, less processed and healthier and more roughage.
Yeah, something very, very damaging things happen during the turning it to white rice.
It's
right,
processed,
the bleaching.
Yeah. I mean, which is weird because so much of China. I don't think you can get brown rice in a lot of places in China. Not that I'm an expert on Chinese culture anymore, but yeah, I am a racist. Thank you, race lever.
I'm curious. Are they? While this administration vilifies people of color for the most part, immigrants, migrants, by far and large, Hispanic people, is this piece not also trying to use their Hispanic heritage as a part of the pity? It's like, oh, look who it is. It's the it's the Hispanics, it's the migrants. We should have pity on these people. I'm like, you're the exact same people that are removing children from them at detention centers.
As they say, Skylar, as the saying goes, don't go pulling on that thread because their whole universe of contradiction and hypocrisy will be exposed and come unraveled. So yeah, they're threading a needle here in the commentary, and with the ranchers who talk about it too, with the exception of Carlos Parada, who actually, is a spokesman for these folks as well. Thank God, a good guy. But they want you to feel sorry for them, and this is terrible what the environmentalists did to them, which is completely out of context and omits a huge amount of the facts. But they don't discuss the bigger picture about we're a nation of immigrants who wants to welcome this kind of labor. And I was in this debate thing. It's another show called The Enemies Project, where I sat down for a few hours with a Proud Boy and had a mediated discussion. And I kept trying to nail him down on these points. And of course, then I realized he's got completely different information. The stereotype notions that immigrants are taking our jobs, and just we had completely different facts that we were citing. Me from the New York Times and him from 4chan or God knows where he's getting his information. But again, ignorance, disinformation, misinformation, lies, propaganda. Like this whole, we've gotten through 6 or 7 minutes of this broadcast here because we need to rip into it all.
Well, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because I think I don't want to get into detail, but I'm kind of struggling here.
Yep, I get it. And by the way, it's a little over an hour now, so we can kind of just cut it here. Unless you want to go on a little farther, I'll kind of leave it to you. You can do either way. Chris says animal liberation advocates are reaching out to all people to wake up and do better, including the ranch laborers. Oh, there you go. Thank you for putting it on the screen. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Not eating animals, not torturing animals cuts across all divides, socioeconomic, political. And for me, I'm always a little bit optimistic, oddly enough. There's so many things to be pessimistic about, but if you just show that slaughterhouse footage, which I am an advocate for, under the right circumstances with the right people, and you walk them through it, but say, this is how your food is made. Do you support this? And the vast majority of people will be really upset by seeing that. We still, even with our conditioning in our culture of, hey, I eat my Paleo Valley meat sticks, you look at a slaughterhouse disassembly line of killing and carnage, and it's deeply upsetting. So that means all I see, this is the Will Tuttle line, I see all people as future vegans. They just have to see the truth or be led to the truth.
Well, Jack, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We can follow up on it next Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, we always kind of decide afterwards what we're going to do. But yeah, thanks, Skylar. I know you're dealing with stuff, and heart goes out to you. We can talk about that someday in the future if you decide. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We're here every Tuesday, 9 o'clock. And again, August 26th is Gary Yourofsky, really renowned vegan activist for his incredible, efficacious speeches about, well, specifically about not harming animals. So don't miss that show, folks. Spread the word on that. Make comments, as always, if you will, on this recording.
And which Leah, by the way, pointed out that you and I are not doing a very good job of that. We need to go comment, respond to people.
Yeah. Okay. I will do it. No, she's right. She's right. It's a good reminder. I just need a reminder. I'm not in the habit. There you go. I'm not in the habit of going to our own podcast and engaging. But yeah.
And Leah's going to be on also at the end of, or in August. I'll throw that up. Yeah, I'll throw that date up. Well, I have it. I'll announce it next week. It's not next week yet.
Okay, so it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
everyone.
next week.